Several illnesses can cause fatigue that restricts many people in their daily lives, but fatigue is not the same as ME. In order to provide proper treatment and follow-up for patients with ME, we have to be able to tell the difference between ME and fatigue. This is why there are a number of specific criteria to diagnose ME, especially the main symptom, post-exertional malaise, PEM. PEM is a long-term worsening of symptoms that can be triggered by a relatively small exertion. Triggering is not limited to physical exertion, but includes increased sensory overload and cognitive or emotional activity. It can just as easily be positive activities as it can be neutral or negative activities. PEM is triggered at different levels of load, depending on the severity of the illness. For those with mild ME, it can be triggered by a visit to a cafe. For those with moderate ME, for example, by reading a book at home. And for those with severe ME, PEM can be caused by as little as turning over in bed or being exposed to sensory triggers such as sound, light, or touch. What they all have in common is a severe worsening of fatigue and exhaustion, pain, as well as increased difficulty thinking. Often it is a flu-like state with nausea and a headache. This usually lasts for up to a few days, but it can also last for weeks and even months if the excessive load has been heavy enough over a long period of time. One of the challenges with PEM is that few people actually see or experience PEM in ME patients because PEM always appears after the overload. Onset is usually delayed until the day after or even longer. As a consequence, many patients with ME are met with disbelief because no one sees how sick they are. It is a common belief that everyone benefits from activity and effort, but this is not necessarily the case for patients with ME. The activity has to be carefully adapted to each patient's capacity. Not doing so will trigger PEM. So, how can healthcare professionals meet patients with ME in a positive way? The most important thing is to genuinely listen and believe what the patient is saying. Increase your knowledge about ME, activity adaptation, and useful strategies for symptom relief. Patients with ME have a very invasive and disabling disease, with professionals' opinions pointing in all directions. So don't listen to yourself. Listen to the patient.